Greetings and welcome to this episode of Bring It On. My name is Bob Hayes and I'm going to be your host for today's show. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, with the election season coming up and all that's happening on television with the presidential elections, we don't want you to forget that there's a lot of local elections going on. And in the town of Whitman, we have right at the particular time, 3 people have taken out papers for the Board of Selectmen. 2 of them are incumbents. One of them is Scott Lambiase. The other one is Brian Bezanson, who I have with me today. And the third candidate is
Jerry
Eaton, who was the former veterans agent in the town of Whitman, correct?
Correct.
Brian, thank you for coming on. It's always good
Thanks
to
for
have
having
a
me.
current member of the Board of Selectmen. And
Pleasure to be here.
how many years have you been on the Board of Selectmen?
Far too long. I got elected in 2004. It was a 4-person race, I believe. 2 seats were open. Peggy McGilvery came in first, and I came in second, behind her by 97 votes. Thereafter, I've been elected 3 other times. I'll be ending my 12th year this May. And every time since I've come in first. So I think that the citizens thought I was doing a pretty good job.
Have you had many challenges, Brian? I know sometimes in local politics, and we see it whether it's a school committee seat or a state rep seat or a Board of Selectmen seat, people run unopposed.
It happens. We've had, I can't remember exactly which years they were, but there were some candidates who ran against us. And one in particular was a gentleman that ran almost every time out, and that was Joe Balonis. I'm sure
He
you know.
was a perennial candidate.
Perennial candidate. He
God
must have
rest
ran
his soul.
15 times, I think, or something like that. He has since passed on. But God bless him for his effort. And, you know, he tried to promote his agenda along the way, and so that's what it's all about.
Of course, it's about giving people choices and
Right.
making decisions on where town should go. And talking about that, how long have you lived in Whitman, Brian?
Oh, that's even longer. My family came to Whitman in 1960 on Rock Street, and so I've really been there most of my life. I'm actually living in the old homestead that my father bought back then, except for a little bit of time in East Bridgewater, Abington, Middleborough, and Lakeville. I've spent most of my time here in Whitman, so we're talking longer than I really would like to admit.
Well, you mentioned 1960, and I think about it myself. I don't know if you know, but I'm an original Whitmanite,
Yeah.
born and brought up on Bedford Street.
Right around the corner from me.
Exactly, and that was previous to 1960. So it's been quite a bit of time, and I took that long journey over to Hanson.
Yeah.
I live in Hanson now. I've
Oh.
lived in Hanson for a long time.
Yeah.
But we've both seen Whitman go through tremendous change.
Definitely.
But in your time as the Board of Selectmen, is there anything that sticks out as we travel through some of the years maybe of when you first got elected, stuff that's happened and
Yeah.
transitioning things that have gone on? I know that Whitman is a town that isn't afraid to make changes. They have a lot of proactive people in town. You know, you have a town administrator position and an assistant administrator. It's not a manager's position,
Right.
it's an administrator. And I know that Frank's a strong administrator and he does a lot of really good things for the town.
does.
What do you think of some of the things as we move through the years as your expertise on the Board of Selectmen?
Well, it's funny because what made me run in the first place back in '04 is much different than what I think I'm trying to run for now. Back in '04, it was right after 9/11. You know, it kind of woke a lot of people up as to, you know, what are we really all about? And it was my intention to run for the Board of Selectmen to try to give back to my community, try to hold the old roots together for Whitman is so Norman Rockwell, and I just wanted to preserve that family feel of the town. But as we progressed along the way, the economy tanked. It got very difficult to manage finances in municipalities. It's very hard, as you know from being on the school committee. Money has really been tight, and you know, '05 to '08 is when it really crashed hard. And for us to weather that storm was really almost a feat of magic, because quite frankly, without the finance committee that we had, I'm not sure it would have worked. But in that time frame, we've weathered it. We're able to really have a big project with the new police station. It was a $10 million project. New police station, refurbish the 100-plus-year-old town hall, fire station repairs, all under the levy limit. Now, in my travels around the South Shore, that's unheard of. You never really get to do that, such a big project under the levy limit. And that's a testament to all departments towing the line on budgets, and the finance committee, the town administrator, the board of selectmen, all working together. Our board works really good together. And for us to weather that storm, try to upgrade things in the community, and still go forward with the sight of new projects, maybe trying to implement better ways to fund education. Department of Public Works is where we're looking now to try to build new facilities. So all along that way, it's been quite a roller coaster ride, but we've weathered it pretty well.
As you talked about, as we moved through the 80s with the 80s, and the 2000s with the recessions, and we talk about budgets and all of the above, I don't know if the people know how the process works and how closely the Board of Selectmen has to work with department heads, with finance committees, and Whitman has a fabulous finance committee. I know that they do. I've had some interaction. They're very proactive. Can you just kind of walk any viewers that may be watching today through that process? Because a lot of people just, when government is run like you guys run it, and it's pretty flawlessly done, people just say, hey, we're moving right along, but they don't take a look at the background of what it really takes to run a community the size of Whitman. I mean, Whitman has 14,000 residents?
Maybe a little more, maybe just under 15,000, 9,000 registered voters. So, but it's 6.9 square miles, I think it is, roughly, just under 7. So there's a lot of people in a short amount of space. And, the biggest thing I hear people saying is, because it's running so smoothly, well, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Because they don't know the nooks and crannies of how we got there. And you can't blame them, because the average family doesn't have time for that. We'll be lucky to get them to town meeting, if we can get a quorum sometimes. But it's hard, we have, really the heart of it is the finance committee and Frank Lanham, the town administrator, because they set, Frank puts the budget together by categories, and then the department heads come in with their proposals for their budgets to the finance committee, and they go over every nickel and dime just about, and they come together and try to put this budget together, so when it comes for town meeting, it really goes so smooth, because it seems like it's just happening. But how we got there was tense, to say the least. And the finance committee is really who does the most of the knuckle-breaking work to get us there. But I know we have challenges coming up. We need to, and that's kind of what I'm focusing on if I get reelected, is to try to, I hate to use the cliche, but thinking outside the box. We have to find a way to do things differently, because the way we do them now, we're not going to be able to continue to do them. With our Proposition 2.5 and only so much growth that we have in this town now, it's going to get harder and harder to fund education, to fund public service, fire, police, DPW, and maintain affordability where our seniors can still live in their own homes, and to be able to fund education so we can continue to be one of the leading towns on the South Shore. So it's such a juggling act. It's going to be tough, but we need to find new ways to not always do things that way, because we've always done them that way. Granted, we've had success, but how long can that go on?
Well, change isn't always the worst thing. I know that some of the things I've been involved with budgets, we we call it tipping the box over and seeing what falls out, and then trying to refill the box to see how we're going to get this funding done. And I know these are tough times, and it's been tough times in the last 10 to 15 years. Even though the economy appears to be back on its feet, the revenue hasn't caught up with what's going on. And one of the big things that I think comes out of budgets is the OPEB, other people's employee benefits. And this is going to be something that's coming forward, and you're going to have to put it on your balance sheets. And when it comes out, how much of these employment benefits, not unemployment, I'm sorry, the OPEB, other people's employment benefits, when it comes out what the liabilities are, it's going to be a shock to some of the people's systems. How do you think you handle that?
It's really hard, and that's really where I've been going, is because you know that there's an impending storm coming. You know, I was talking with someone the other day who's involved with the Mayflower.
Mayflower Cooperative Insurance?
Right, and they're talking 12 to 20% increase. 12 to 20%.
That's huge.
It's huge. And I mean, how do you continue to afford these numbers like that? And you know, you take example of an employee in town here who is the head of household, has to buy the family insurance. The wife is probably staying home with the kids and everything. I don't know how they can afford to continue this. I mean, the huge monthly amount to pay, the employee's portion of that is enormous. And it's really unsustainable. We have to find new ways of doing things. And you know, I applaud the governor because he's been very proactive. When you, being a school committee man, might not like charter schools, because I really don't know what your opinion is on it, but he has come forth as a proponent of charter schools, and I believe the secretary has approved one for Brockton. I believe this in the last week or two.
Yes, that's recent.
Yeah, and I do actually like charter schools. I like their performance seems to be very good, but the funding is an issue. Taking away from the regions and the local towns to fund them is not going to help the problem that we're discussing as far as how we're going to fund better education.
It's going to further debt service in towns.
Exactly.
It's going to take away students, because the original plan for charter schools, and we don't want to turn this into a school.
Right.
We're talking about Brian Bezanson, the candidate.
Right.
But we've
it's
touched
a conversation you have to have.
Right. It's a definite conversation that you have to have, because it's going to impact funding.
Exactly.
And originally, charter schools were created for bigger cities with underperforming schools, where they thought they were going to take out a certain element and bring in a different type of an educational function. And every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So that happens. It's very similar to if you get into school choice. But that is going to affect the town's ability to pay as you contribute to a region. And the way you talk about doing things differently, you're going to have to take a look at that, because the OPEB benefits, the school losing funding, employment costs going up for your municipalities across the state, not just the town of Whitman.
That's right.
Hanson, everybody. This is not something that is going to go away.
Right.
Who suffers the burden?
It's the property owners. They're the ones that have to, and really down the road, it's the children, because they're not going to get maybe the education they should, based the fact that, I mean, we only have so much money. We have to come up with another way somehow. You know, I don't have the answers, but, you know, I clearly look every day. You try to find, you know, I check other states' websites, other city websites, all across the country, all the time, looking for new and innovative ways how they do things. Now, I'm not suggesting, you know, I have a friend in South Carolina. Now, that's a vastly different state and education system than we have here in Massachusetts. But they have figured out a way down there to actually give an abatement to senior citizens and families that don't have children in the system, a rebate on their property taxes, but still be able to fund the education and I'm still trying to figure out how they're doing it. But granted, I think the education system there and here is not comparable, but the formula might be working. I don't know that, and I'm still trying to work on that, but that's just some of the things. You got to think of different things, find new ways to try to really propel us to the next step. And it's going to take more than me, and it's going to take everybody in the town and Hanson as well to try to figure something out to really help the kids get the education they need.
Well, it's good to see that you're searching. Some people could say in other towns they have boards that kind of sit on their hands when things are going good. Mm-hmm. And you're taking the attitude of let's be proactive,
right,
not reactive.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of an important step to think of as a leader. Speaking of the leadership role, how do you see a board of selectmen in a town? Certain towns have said, and I've heard this statement said, that we've outlived the government the way we see it in small towns. We need to change more to maybe a manager or maybe a mayor. Like I believe the town of Weymouth has gone that route.
Right.
Whitman approaching 15,000 people. Do you see that change coming to Whitman? Or do you see it's, again, you mentioned earlier the Norman Rockwell type town. And I agree with you. I was born and brought up here. I mean, I love it.
I really don't see it happening. There's something that the citizens have made it quite clear to us. They like it the way it is. We've had some discussions in the last 6 or 8 months about maybe electronic town meeting machines.
The voting.
Exactly. To really take the pressure off. Some of the citizens have said sometimes they feel a little pressure when it comes to a high-intensity vote, and real or imagined, it doesn't matter. If they feel that way, you have to consider it. So we were looking into it. We've made some inquiries. We're actually, I believe, we're doing a study to see how it actually works, and there's been you're either for it or you're against it.
Oh yeah.
And I've heard the people who are against it pretty vocally that they like it the way it is. Some have talked about the representative form of town meeting. Other towns have done that, and I think Whitman is pretty much set in their ways when it comes to the form of government that they like, and I think they like the setup that we have, the 5 seats on the Board of Selectmen, the town meeting, Finance Committee. So I think as long as I'm around, we won't see any big changes. That's not to say that it won't happen down the road, but I think they like it the way it is.
Talking about the voting machines at town meeting, it was something I was going to bring up, and we're there now, which is good.
Yeah.
And the pros and the cons. Some people think that if you have the voting machine, it will have more people come to town meeting. It will, because we all know, whether it's Whitman or Hanson, lots of times we're standing outside town hall calling somebody saying, please come.
Right.
We've got 96, we need 100,
right.
Get here, do this. And
we
have to run government, obviously.
Right. Exactly. There's been talk, you lower the quorum, but then for me, that why would you want to lower the bar? And you have a chance that maybe a volatile group can come in that's ticked off about something in particular, and they bring in enough, and it can really sway a decision that might not be in the best interest of the town. So I think the more the merrier. The more people you can get in and be part of the process, you're going to get a much better snapshot of what the town really wants. So, the pros, I've heard that, it takes the pressure off people. They can vote. And the cons were, well, if they don't like my particular department, they could hold it against me and vote down my budget or cut my budget back. I think all of these are worst case scenarios. I think I have much more faith in the citizens of Whitman to do the right thing than to be pulling that kind of shenanigans, I think.
Well, it's also been said that it might take the onus off town meeting if they set a dollar limit as far as it passes town meeting, it goes to the ballot.
Right, it's an option.
And that way, instead of letting 100 or 150 people control big ticket items, you bring it to the ballot, whether it be a threshold of 25,000. You know, nobody's kicked that number around, but there are some towns. But there's another issue too that I've heard, and I've heard some grumblings about. Not Whitman, Hanson. They say that the selectmen have the opportunity to determine what articles go on the ballot in what position. And I hear a town of Pembroke physically uses a machine, like a bingo machine.
Right, spin the wheel.
They throw the numbers in,
Yeah.
and they pick them out, so they're randomly drawn. So it takes the onus off the Board of Selectmen. What do you think about that process?
I actually think it's a good idea. I think that, in the past there's been, for whatever reason, what article or what, was on the town meeting, that a certain group or a group of individuals or whatever would come into the town meeting just to vote specifically for one thing. When that vote came up, they left. To me, that's not fair. If you're going to come to participate in the process, participate in the process. Stay.
The whole process.
The whole process, right. Stay and really afford the rest of the people who showed up to stay for the whole thing the same opportunity to vote in equal fashion. And I just don't think that's right. And so if you've got the little spinny wheel, a lottery machine thing, and then you're pulling out, we're going to go to Article 34 first, and, it has some merit.
Keeps them there.
It does, and it makes it fair because, if Article 2 comes up pretty quick, and that tends to be one of the big problems sometimes, with certain budgets. So I think it's a good idea.
Well, I think that it's also relevant, and a lot of people I don't think know this, and part of the reason I even do these shows is to try and educate some of the people on exactly what could happen. I don't think a lot of people know that anyone can ask for an article to be reconsidered before the meeting's adjourned, and just because it was at the beginning of the meeting, they could ask for reconsideration right before the last thing, and as long as there's a quorum there, that could get overturned.
Yeah. And that's what's good about town meeting, because it is the truest form of town government, and the better educated the voter is, the better off everyone is going to be. And that's why I applaud you for doing these kind of shows. I just did one yesterday in East Bridgewater for their cable, and it's a wonderful thing. The more times you can educate people about the process, they'll participate more because they'll feel more comfortable about it. And I believe that if they want to reconsider, you have to have so many votes to go with you to get it to roll
But it can
through.
still happen.
It can still happen, absolutely.
It can still happen.
Right, and to me that's, sometimes it'll give people some pause for thought. By the end of the meeting, maybe they say, wait a minute, maybe we got schnooked.
Well,
you never know. But it's a possibility, and that's what's great about town meeting.
Well, it's probably for the people and by the people, and it is the truest form of government. But I keep hearing repetitively, and maybe it's by the people that don't show up at town meeting, because as both of us know, we have a tremendous amount of people that say, "I'll see you at town meeting," and you never see them at town meeting.
No.
And I know their intentions are good, and younger people have kids, and it's also been brought to the attention of maybe changing town meeting to a Saturday or a Sunday, so that, because it seems to be a problem to get younger people to town meeting because of children. It's not easy to get babysitters, and it's not cheap. People
are working 2 jobs, and it's hard. And I brought this up before at our meetings, and I was told by the town clerk, the town administrator, we've tried this, and this, and it didn't really resolve any issues, and it's hard. We've really banged around ideas trying to figure out better ways to get more people there, and sometimes it's just hard. And a lot of it, is it apathy? Maybe. Is it convenience? Probably. So it's really hard, and really we should take suggestions from the public. Tell us what's best for you, and we'll see what we can do. We don't profess to know it all, and by any stretch of the imagination. So they have to communicate with us what would be better for the general population. And that may be a Saturday. It may be a Sunday. Who knows?
Well, at least, because the thought process is, and again, I applaud you guys for always thinking about change. It may be a Saturday or Sunday, because at least you could get one parent there if the other one had to sit. Or you might be able to get, being a new grandfather, I know that my daughter's not afraid to drop the baby off and say, we're going.
Right,
In fact,
right.
I've got that going on tonight.
Yeah.
So that might bring some change to town government, because I know the complaint always is, we can't get there, and we would be there. And again, maybe it's voter apathy. And then the other side is, there's a great side to that. A ton of people don't come at certain times because maybe they feel that you're doing a good job, and they're happy with the outcome.
Yeah, and that, I would hope that would be the reason, but you never know. The thing about May for us, for our town meeting, is first Monday in May, a lot of the sports have started. And so, there's people down at the ball field, the soccer field, and they're rushing home for dinner, and I'm sure town meeting is probably not on their list of high things. If you move it to Saturday, those baseball fields are pretty full. Do we want more young families to come in for town meeting? Yeah, we do. So there is a lot of hurdles to go over, and I'm not sure what the answer is, but tell us, please.
Well, it's been a very, very quick half hour, and we're
has.
winding down, Brian. We've got a couple minutes left. So just in closing, tell the voters why they should vote for Brian Bezanson, other than the fact that you've been a selectman for 12 years and you do a pretty favorable job because people have been electing you for 12 years.
Right, right.
And I understand you're also the chair of the Republican Town Committee. Is
I
that
am.
correct?
Yes, since 2010, I think so.
Well,
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank you for inviting me here today.
thank you for coming.
And I'd like to reach out to the citizens of Whitman to thank you for putting me in this position of selectman since 2004. I can't believe I even said that, but I'd appreciate it if you voted me in again this May. I think it's May 22nd, I think, is our election. We've always tried to do what's in the best interest of the community. Our board works very well together. The five of us have a good working relationship. So I would appreciate your vote at our annual town elections. And if you need to ask me any questions or get involved in any way, folks here at the cable station are going to put up my email address. So I'd appreciate you to vote in May, and thanks again. Appreciate it.
Well, as always, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you watching Bring It On. We try to bring you some educational value to every show to try and help the town of Whitman or the town of Hanson, the viewers that are watching. If you have anything that you would like to see brought on to Bring It On, please, you can contact me at bobhayes@gmail4433@gmail.com, or you can call my cell at 617-538-0189, because we're always looking for stuff to bring up programming so the viewers of Bring It On can get inside knowledge of what's going on, because the towns of Whitman and Hanson are the people. They are the people. Those are the people in the community that are doing the very best that they can. And I applaud the boards of selectmen and the finance committees and the town administrator, because they all work very hard for all the people of the town. So I appreciate that, and they do a good job. So thank you for watching Bring It On. See you next time.